So, hi everyone. Topic today is how to boost confidence in a sales call. And why is that important? So let's just dive into that. We have half an hour today. So several reasons why being confident is important. The first one is we want to lead and control our sales conversation. And we want to do that without sounding arrogant. And there's a major difference between being confident in your sales calls and being arrogant. So that's one of the major points here. If you don't feel confident in presenting, in speaking, in listening, in your sales calls, that translates to your prospect and it kind of wiggles. So we don't want to do that. Also, we want to come across as being knowledgeable. So we want to be known as we know our shit. We know our product. We know the prospects. We know what we're talking about. We have a reason why we have this conversation. And also we want to lead our prospects in the conversation to where we want them to be at the end of the sales call. So every sales call ends with a close or a next step or a call to action. And throughout that conversation, we need to know where we are and where we want to lead the prospect as the next step. So finally, ultimately, it all leads down to closing. It all leads down to the call to action and the further steps. And if we're not confident about all of that, if we're not confident about where do we want to go with that prospect, where do we want to go with that sales conversation, then it wiggles, right? It's kind of it's not what we want to do, right? It's not how we want to lead the conversation. And so there are several things that we can do to increase the confidence in our sales calls. And as I just sat down and came up with a couple of things that I feel are very important to know and to understand. So how can we increase the confidence in sales calls? From my own personal experience, you need to have enough sleep. That's number one. A lack of sleep equals a lack of stamina, a lack of energy, and that is the destroyer of confidence. So make sure that you have and get enough sleep every day, every night. And it doesn't matter if it's 6 hours, 7 hours, or 8 hours. You know your body, right? So get enough sleep so you have that stamina, you have that energy, that drive to get on a sales call, to get on a discovery call, or get on a demo and really nail that. Number two, we want to know our stuff, and that means inside out. So the thing is, we want to know the product. What is it that we are selling? We want to know that inside out, and we want to be convinced about our product. If we think our product is shit, we don't come across as confident in the sales call because we really don't have that connection. So we want to be absolutely convinced about our product. Also, we want to know everything we can about our customer, about the potential customer. Who are they? What are they thinking about? What are their challenges? What are their pain points at the moment? And also, if you go a little bit deeper into the psychology aspect of it, we also want to know how our prospects feel. So if you remember, there are 3 appeals. Actually, there are 5 appeals. That's ethos, pathos, and logos, and there are 2 more. And you can kind of figure out if your prospect is more on the logical side or if he's more on the emotional side, and how you can connect to that prospect in the sales call. So as long as you have that understanding, in theory, you can put that into practice in your sales call. And that helps you to put you in a position of being knowledgeable and being the authority, again, without sounding too arrogant here. So we want to know how the prospects feel. We also we need to have the market knowledge, the knowledge about the sector. What are they going through at the moment? Are there any legal changes, any changes in regulations? Is the economy going up? Is it going down? Is a specific region that something is happening in there? So all of that That's what I mean by know your stuff. Is not just like, know your product or know your sales. It's really to have that comprehensive knowledge about the situation, about the prospect that you are calling, or you have that discovery call with, or you have that demo with. So there's several layers of how you can boost your confidence. And once you prepare yourself for that demo, for that sales call, you will see that the confidence just comes along with it. So another trick that really helped me was to simply stand up. If you have a stand-up desk, or a desk that you can move up and down, or maybe you even have two desks, standing up is so important to really boost confidence. Why is that? It has to do with posture. And what I found is when I stand up, it kind of relaxes the throat a little bit and the vocal cords. It's just more open and it's more relaxed. And just by standing up, you have a different feel about your confidence levels. So that's really important. That really helped me just to stand up instead of just sitting down the whole time. Another quirky trick, I would say, is to dress up. Even if you have a discovery call or you have a demo without video on, which, by the way, you shouldn't. You should always have your video on. And dressing up also gives you that extra boost of confidence, because you are dressed up. You're dressed in a shirt, in a blazer. And even if you're just at home, you'll realize that you have a different feeling about yourself. There's different energy, a different confidence, different stamina around that. And so standing up and dressing up for your sales call, that was really the light bulb moment for me. Of course, you can't do it all day long. You shouldn't be standing up like for 8 hours. But it's like, the balance did the trick for me. So there's that. Another trick that you can try to boost your confidence, but also to come across as an authority in your sales call, is to lower your voice, to bring that voice down into a lower register. And what helps to do that is to speak slowly or slower than you would normally do, and to really focus on your voice and the words that you use and the rhythm and the melody that you have in your sales call, in your conversations. That really boosted the whole conversation, because once you are knowledgeable about all the points that we just discussed about, product, customer, pain points, challenges, and so forth, you don't have that intrinsic need to pitch, but you can relax more and you can just start actively or proactively listen to what they have to say, what your prospect has to say. So lower your voice, get into the lower registers, and try to speak slowly, slower than you would usually do, and in a lower register than you would normally do. And that boosts your confidence, because what it does is also to allow silence in between. You have the confidence to just allow gaps to be there and not have a constant ping pong back and forth between your prospects or your leads. But to have that freedom and the flexibility and also the confidence, here we go again, to ask a question and then let there be silence and let the prospect think, or even let yourself think what comes next, and focus the attention on listening to what's coming up next. So all of that attributes to the confidence that you feel, or you will feel in your sales calls, when you do things slightly differently than what you usually do. For one, I have a higher voice. Usually, I don't know where that's coming from. I used to play in a band and do the background vocals. Maybe that's where it's coming from. I don't know. But I have to focus on my voice when I want to push it more into the lower registers, when I want to speak slowly, when I want to allow that space when I want to allow to give that space to the prospect so they can think about their response, their questions. So it's all practice. It's all just practice. And if you go through that and just try that this afternoon with your next sales calls or discovery calls or demos that you have, you will feel a difference. It will feel different. You will need to probably practice it a couple of days, but it really helped me along the way over the past 25 years. And I've been doing that for quite some time now. And also when you allow silence to appear in your sales calls, it kind of takes away the pressure and you don't feel the need to fill the pauses with pitches. So if you just relax and sit back or stand back, you can lean back while standing up and just ask the question, ask one of the questions that you've prepared and just wait for the response. So all of that helps. And the last point that I want to point out, how you can become more confident in your sales calls, is to use a sales script. As easy as that sounds and as simple as that sounds. Why should you use a sales script? Well, sales reps or sales people who ask at least 11 questions in their discovery call, but also in their demos, increase their closing rate by up to 40%. And that's just an amazing number. And a lot of sales reps are afraid to use sales scripts because they just don't want to sound like a robot. That's understandable, but you can solve that quite easily. A sales script is something that you should have as a guidance throughout your calls, and it should be adaptable to your prospect because every prospect is different. Every prospect will give you different responses, will have different needs and different pain points. So you have to have that flexibility at the same time. You should design a sales script that will help you get through the sales call and increase your closing rate. What we developed is the probing sales framework. And part of the probing sales framework is conversation model. The different elements and different stages that you want to take your prospects through the whole conversation. And we start with, the situation, and we move into the motivation, the aspiration element, the change prevention, but also change facilitating factors. All of these things are quite standard and based on psychology to lead the prospect to where we want them to be. And then, of course, increase the chances to close them. So all of that is part of the probing sales framework. And whenever we work with sales teams, the first thing that I ask about is to see their current sales scripts. And most of the sales teams don't have a living, vibrant sales script. They have like one document that they get from management at the beginning of the campaign, but then that's it. So what we do is really educate sales teams and sales pros on the different elements and the different steps that you can lead a prospect through the whole conversation from start to end to the next step and to the closing. And to make sure that you have 1, 2, or 3 questions for each of these elements, depending on the situation of the prospect and their challenges and what they want to achieve. And that is one way to be more confident in your sales calls. You know what? Maybe it's not a sales script. Maybe it's more like a map. It's like a treasure map. And at the end of the rainbow, there is the close. So maybe we should call it sales conversation map instead of sales script. But what I mean is it boosts your confidence when you know where you are, where you want to go, and what the questions are that you have to ask in order to close that prospect or disqualify the prospect. We have 2 options here. We either qualify or disqualify the prospect. And so that's why it's very important for us to show sales reps and sales pros the benefits and the advantages of having a sales script and working on a sales script, on a guideline throughout the calls, throughout the conversations. And they can vary between a discovery call and the demo, and then the follow-up, and then, the negotiation. So the different elements to different stages. But again, all of that is part of the probing sales framework that we do, and it's free for you to find out. You just simply go to honeycombagency.co.uk or click the link in the bios. You'll find a sales conversation guide which you can download, which is gives you the first glimpse of what the probing sales framework is all about and why we developed that. So there you have it. That's the first ever SalesNation Lunch Break live stream. The topic today was how to be more confident in your sales calls. Join us again tomorrow at 12 o'clock.